What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Moto.
You almost said the Motofam? Yikes, dude, you need to get off social media, my guy. The Motofam.
I'm going to leave that in there just for Pierre. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the D-Class podcast. We got Colin from Roost Goggles on. What's up, dude?
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Doing good. Just hanging out.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, my voice is kind of shot a little bit. We had a little bit of we had a birthday party last night, so my voice is like a little bit deeper than it normally is, which is fine. I'm okay with that.
So we got linked up with you through Pierre. How do you know him?
So he's local to the Phoenix area. And it's kind of a funny story because he picked up our goggles at our local dealership or at a local dealership and did a review video and just DM'd me on Instagram and was like, hey, I just want to let you know, love the goggles and here's the video. It's live. And he really liked them. And so I reached out and I had a bunch of questions as far as like his sales process and like what the dealership told him and just kind of like how we fell into it. Because it was actually one of our newest dealers that have just come on board. And immediately, like, I mean, I watched the podcast that you guys had with him. Like, we immediately hit it off and talked for like an hour and a half on the phone, just about all just moto stuff. So, yeah, we've been working together on a few like collaborations and stuff. And we're so close to each other that we see each other at the track and stuff all the time.
Oh, right.
And we're trying to collab on a few other things with some other companies that we're trying to partner with. So he's just a cool moto dude that we just kind of randomly found each other. So, yeah.
Sweet.
That's awesome.
Well, cool. Also, just before we get into it, I just want to go ahead and put out there, this is not like a sponsored podcast or anything. Roost didn't like pay anything to be on here. We're just like, Pierre was like, yo, this guy Colin's fun to talk to. Y'all should talk to him for a little bit.
Yeah.
So anyway, with that being said, so like how long ago did you start this company?
So I originally started actually my own shop here in Arizona back in the like early 2016, just doing service. But my long-term goal was to stay in the industry and have a product that kept me in the industry. But I mean, in the service industry, it's not something scalable or something that you can like build and then retire out of, being based off of, your actual individual labor. So my partner and I just were looking at different things that we wanted to get into. And I've always been passionate about like sunglasses and goggles. Like I raced when I was younger and that was like, literally everything could be completely clapped out. But if you had nice goggles, like I felt like I was,
Yeah.
So that was just something I was super passionate about. And so like early 2017, we started like R&Ding and different prototypes and different styles and stuff like that. And then about 2 years ago, we like hit the market full with out to the public and with the model that we currently have. We've made some changes and stuff, but we've been out to the public for a couple of years now.
Cool.
Dang, that's sweet.
So you had a passion for like sunglasses and goggles just because like growing up, or like that was just like you said, like if you had some cool goggles or sunglasses, whatever you were.
Yeah. So I never took care of them. That was the problem. So I never could justify like spending money on Oakleys or Oakley sunglasses or, anything really. And then it's kind of funny because I ended up marrying an optician. And so my wife's an optician and she worked for the same company that owns Oakley.
Oh, wow.
So like as soon as we got married, she was like, you gotta get nice glasses. What do you want? And I'm like, no. Like I was running like $20 like Walmart specials. And she's like, no, let me get you like nice glasses. And I couldn't look back. Like once I started like having nice sunglasses.
Yeah.
I couldn't go cheap again.
Yeah. The rest is history.
And then as far as goggles go, like once, I won't say the brand, but once my favorite brand was priced out of my price range, I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do, but like, I know I can do something like just as good, and not be at that, that higher price point. Cause I understand, like, obviously having my own brand, like I understand what goes into R&D and advertising and what you're paying for brand, like what the customer pays for brand, the brand recognition and that kind of stuff. So just with like not wanting to justify the cost of sunglasses when I was, 10 years old has turned into my own goggle company as an adult now. So
that is awesome, man.
That's cool.
I love that vision, having something like that as a kid and then growing up and being able to do something about it. Really reminds me of when Connor and I first met. He's like, dude, I ride dirt bikes. And then we instantly hit it off having dirt bikes. And it's like, wait a second, I can buy a dirt bike. I'm an adult now. Like I don't have to ask my parents permission, to go buy like that kind of stuff. And I just thought that was really funny. That's what I connected in my head with, like, oh, I'm an adult now. Like, and then you started your own company. So,
well, yeah. And it's cool too, to see like, I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of brands out there that like, there's like, I just started this cause I wanted to make money. And like, you can tell, I mean, even from the 6 minutes and 30 seconds we've been on the call, you can tell that it's something like you like are passionate about. So that's cool.
Yeah.
But I also like, I definitely feel you on like the whole, like, once you get one nice pair of sunglasses.
Yeah. So
I was like the same way, like growing up, I just had like some cheapo Walmart pair. And then it was actually, so in high school, I was supposed to be wearing contacts, but I didn't wear them. But our insurance gave us like $300 a year or something to spend on like basically like eye protection and eyewear. It's supposed to be spent on contacts, but I never wore them. So maybe, I don't even know if I'm supposed to be saying this, but the doctor was like, well, you have this like $300 credit.
Your doctor.
Like, he was like, we sell sunglasses in the lobby. If you can use them on that if you want. I was like, oh, sweet. So I got this like super nice pair of Costas. And since then, I mean, I fish a lot. So like Costas are kind of like honestly,
the cool kind of sunglasses.
Like every brand at this point, like a lot of people in the fishing industry like argue about one brand versus the other. They're all super solid. I like the Costas just because they look good and they're the first pair that I bought and I have no reason to change. But yeah, like now, like if I have a few pairs of like cheap sunglasses in my car just in case I like forget my sunglasses. And like every time I have to wear them, I'm like, what am I looking through?
It feels so bad.
Oh yeah.
It feels so bad.
Oh yeah.
So kind of like moving that into goggles, like I don't really know the answer to this at all. Like what goes into, like, I'm assuming that there's some sort of technology that goes into a goggle lens similarly to a sunglass lens. So like, I guess kind of walk us through that.
Yeah. So unless you're getting into like the high end lens with like I don't even know if I'm allowed to say other brands on a public forum like this, but say the company that has the big O, their prism lens, like that has a lot of technology and R&D. And I think that's why the cost is, as high as it is. But I think there's a lot of brands that are kind of in that mid-range, which we would be included in that, where there's kind of what I would call is like the industry standard. So it's polycarbonate, anti-scratch, impact resistant. And then you can get into like flat lens and pre-curved lens for distortion. It's stuff like that. But that's all stuff that we basically offer to try to give a different price point per se, depending on it. Like originally we were offering flat and pre-curved lenses, just to give people, if they really wanted to have a pre-curved lens for less distortion. But really, I think it comes down to like the price point of what people want to spend. And the other thing is like, we see so many of our riders that literally go out in one moto and then come back and throw their goggles down. And it's like, and then they use their glove and like clean it off and like it's like, at that point, I'm like, just buy the cheaper, like we've got an inexpensive, like it still meets like our stand, what we would call our standard of, anti-scratch, UV resistant, impact resistant polycarbonate. But to kind of go back to what you said, like there are a lot of different versions. We're not R&Ding like up into like the prism lens type of clientele or customer base, mainly because we're super passionate about like the hardcore moto, like privateer and supporting those guys. And if they can, in my opinion, if they can save a tank of gas and still have a good quality pair of goggles and help them get to the next race, like that's what I'm here for.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. I like that a lot.
That's cool. Yeah. So I've got a pair of, I'll say the brand name. I have a pair of Oakleys and honestly, I don't really like them.
They're like 10 years old. Well,
I bought them brand new about a year ago. They were on like clearance.
Okay.
So they were like $60. I think they were originally like 120. So I was like, oh, these are obviously good goggles because they were expensive. I guess that was not the case because I don't know if they're like, honestly, I don't really know much about them. They must not be pre-curved or something because there are so many like
waves.
It almost looks like there's like 2 pieces of plastic in there, and like it kind of messes with my eyes sometimes while I'm riding.
That's called refraction. And so if depending on the material, if there actually is like space in the lens itself, it can cause like light to refract from one surface to the other, like not in a straight line. And so you're seeing where it's not coming through in a straight line, which is pretty common depending on the material. And then you can get into like the tear offs too. Like you stack up like non-laminated stacks, like you can get a lot of refraction and stuff depending on the quality of the lens and stuff like that.
Yeah,
gotcha.
That makes sense. Well, I guess this is like a low quality lens that I've got. It looks cool. It's like the mirror. That's the reason I bought them. So they were the cheapest ones that had like the cool mirror look.
Oh man!
And I was like, oh, I got to look the part. So I bought those.
Poser.
They
look cool from the outside, but from the inside, not a fan.
No, I mean, and that's the funny thing too is like that's what what you're bringing up is a perfect example. Like everyone has an opinion, and so like when I first started out, I had a lot of people that were like, oh, this is the worst industry to get into. Like it's so saturated. There's so many other brands out there. And through like over time, like I've realized that there's so many different people out there that there's so many different preferences on color, style, fitment, even just down to like brand, like people just brand loyalty. Like I've got to have this brand because that's what I want, whatever. Yeah. So, there's a butt for every seat and a pair of, eyes for or a pair of goggles for every set of eyes,
Absolutely.
And so it just doesn't, it may not just be the right fit for you, so.
Yeah. So I'm kind of curious to like, what is your product line? Like it either separates you from, like your competitors, and also what is, I guess the qualities that like went into engineering this kind of stuff.
Yeah. So we partnered with our manufacturer, to be able to design or customize them as much as possible. But we basically have put every feature that we believe every rider should have. And that's really what makes us different. I mean, we use quality products. We have triple layer foam. We've got right out of the box, all of our goggles include a impact resistant mirror lens, the widest possible strap on the market, with silicone. We have a removable nose guard. We have a rigger system. Like we literally have everything that everyone else has. And that's the question I get all the time is like, what makes your product different? And I don't think the answer is actually the product per se, but it's our mission and it's our drive. So I believe whether you pay $20 or $200 for a pair of goggles, that you should get all the features that everyone deserves to have. I can't stand being at the track and seeing someone that's like bought a different brand, even on closeout, and they spent, $35, but it's like single to double layer foam, or, a really, really crappy strap, or like the fitment is like, people don't understand the reason for a rigger system, which is to recess the foam further into the helmet to give you a better fitment. And I see so many times, like it's a bad helmet combo or helmet goggle combo, or someone's in the wrong size helmet. And so the goggles are like sticking way out and you can see like their skin all the way around. Like, so we believe at Roost that everyone should be afforded all those features. And kind of to go back to the privateer aspect, like we're so passionate about Moto that we want everyone to wear our goggles, to wear them and come back and say, there's nothing you can do to make these better. Gotcha. And that's our goal.
Cool.
So what are the different, like you said, you have a couple different lines, right?
Well, so we got rid of our original line, because it was more of we called it kind of our weekend warrior. It was just a very basic system, no nose guard, no rigger system. And so we put all of our kind of our focus on our Reckoning frame, which is what we offer currently. But that has the removable nose guard, the rigger system, the silicone strap. They all come with a mirror tinted lens, anti-scratch, impact lens. So that's the feat. And then we're working on accessories as well. So like, that's one thing that we don't want to just have just a pair of goggles or even multiple lines of goggles without having other accessories or other items. So we're launching goggle cases here in the near future. We've got new colors coming out next month. And then we're also working on some other lens options. We're R&Ding some roll-offs right now. So like we're really just trying to like cover everyone's needs within the moto industry, as far as instead of having like so many different frame options, because once you buy that frame option, like that's what you're going to have, or that's what you're going to use. So we want to be able to provide, a product to that particular customer or that rider, but for all of their needs.
Gotcha.
So what's the retail price on those goggles?
So retail, like if you go into any of the dealers that we have, especially here in Arizona, is $59.99. Okay. We have them on our website. We run them a little bit less on the website just because of like shipping costs and stuff. We want to try to stay relatively close to our dealers of $55.
Okay, cool.
So how long have you, you said you've been in the goggle business now for?
We've been on the market for about 2 years, but with COVID, we had a hard time with materials and stuff. So we kind of just used what inventory we had, and we've really just kind of focused on racing. Okay. And just kind of keeping the brand out on the market. And then with COVID restrictions being lifted and stuff, really earlier this year or earlier in 2001, we were able to kind of revamp everything, readjust our color selection, and then create some new partnerships and kind of make a step to get outside of Arizona. Gotcha. One of which was we were the goggle sponsor for AMA Kicker Arena Cross this year. So that was one thing that helped us kind of get out of the state. But yeah, it's kind of been, to be honest, it's been kind of a lot quickly. Yeah. We scaled it. It was like slow starting because we kept it very local. We like sponsored a lot of local amateurs and just kind of like kept it local, kind of almost like as like a weekend hobby kind of thing. But then once we had the opportunity to partner with Kicker or Cycle City Promotions and kind of go full scale is when we really, and we had the backing and the recognition and just kind of, it worked out everything kind of, the timing happened all at once. And so we're able to kind of quickly scale it and bring it, to what it is today. So.
Gotcha.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Well, I mean, I don't want to turn this into like a hour-long goggle ad for the people that are just listening to hang out.
I was gonna ask him another, not a goggle question, but
I've got one more goggle, I've got one more like question about the company, and then we can talk about like Supercross or something or whatever. But so what's like the goal for you moving forward? Like, do you want to be like Jet Lawrence is wearing your goggles, or do you want to stick with more of the privateers, or like what's in 10 years, like what do you want the company to look like?
So that's a great question. So when I started my shop, our business name was actually Roost Motorsports, and the product that we sell is Roost Goggles. And even after closing the shop, I have kept the name Roost Motorsports because my goal in the next few years is to actually have an amateur team that we can sign youngsters to at all different bike sizes, and then be able to travel and support them through an amateur team. So my son's one of them. And so like, that's kind of our goal. I mean, I'm passionate about the brand and the product and goggles in general. But my passion for Moto trumps that. So that's really what I want to use the product to build the team and then bring other brands and manufacturers on board and then use that, to keep growing it.
Oh, that's super neat. I like that. I do like that. That's kind of like why we started D-Class Moto podcast, was just to reach the private community who, the weekend warrior type. But that's cool, man.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, cool. We're like at 20 minutes. So sorry. Do you have anything else? I was just gonna say we can take a break. No. I was just gonna say we can take a quick break. But if you got something else you want to add real quick, then go for it.
No, I was just gonna say like I think that as far as like you asked about like Jet Lawrence wearing them, like I'm not opposed to ever getting a pro, especially on TV, or to Jet Lawrence's level of a pro. But the way I look at that is whatever that would cost, I could help so many other privateers that like, to me, the value would be helping those privateers get to their next race then to pay for what it costs to have somebody in the limelight. Obviously there's not as much advertising value there, but that's where my passion's at. And I know that would be the right move for my company, would be to do something like that instead.
Well, that's
Gotcha.
awesome. I like it.
Well, yeah, let's take a quick break real quick, and then I want to ask you about kind of what's going on with the Arena Cross series. I know you had mentioned like doing some Loretta's qualifiers and stuff this past weekend, right?
Yeah.
So we can kind of get into that.
Yep.
Yeah, we'll take a quick break real quick,
Okay.
and we'll be right back.
Sick.
Okay, sounds good.
Man, this is awesome. I like this. This is good stuff.
We're learning.
I know, right? How long have you been growing your beard out, man? I gotta know.
Dude, it's so funny that you asked that, because I sat down and I was like waiting for you guys to get on, and I'm like, I wonder what they're gonna ask. And I'm like, I literally get so many comments on it. I was like, I bet the first thing they're gonna say is something about my beard.
Yeah.
And then that was like one of the first questions that you had.
Oh man.
To answer your question, I mean, I've had a long beard pretty much since I got out of the Army. So
Oh, cool,
like,
cool.
I've never actually like figured out how long it takes to grow it out. But if I had to guess, I'd say I could go probably close to this length in like 8 weeks.
Oh wow. Jeez.
Oh my gosh.
You said you're in the Army. Are you 18 series?
No, I was
Sorry.
no, I was but
18 series is like Special Forces.
Oh.
Yeah. There's honestly
the qualification.
Yeah, I mean, I was like, you look like a frogman. So.
I don't have the hips and the knees for it anymore. So
Oh my gosh, don't even get me started on hips and knees.
So
My
you
knees are
said you can grow
destroyed.
that out in like 8 weeks. So how long
Roughly,
how
yeah.
long you been working on this, Hayden? About 2 years.
This has been a long time, long time coming, dude.
Well, it's funny. I mean, you're a Mercedes mechanic, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So I was thinking about this the other day. Like I was a mechanic for Goodyear and Firestone before I ended up going and becoming a service manager for both companies.
Oh, cool.
And I had a really short beard at the time. And I was thinking about it the other day, and I'm like, I don't know if I would have had a beard this long working on cars. Like
Get it like caught in a belt or something.
possibility of getting it caught, like
Yeah,
in a
yeah.
serpentine belt, or like, like crawling under the hood of something. And,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it just like, and then it gets dirty. Like even now, like I constantly like lean over and like,
Yep.
touches something on the table or whatever. Like,
100%.
I don't think I probably would have had a long beard, this long of a beard.
Yeah, that would
or
get kind of
wrenching on
nasty.
top.
I mean,
You could use it like as a work towel.
no way.
Like you-
Dude, yo.
Like-
Yeah, you just like wipe off my hands real quick.
Hands off.
Oh my Lanta. Yeah, that is very true. I mean,
Does anyone at your work have a long beard?
Yeah,
Anyone
we
that works
have.
on cars.
Yeah, Jacob has a long beard, but he went to detail, and so he's working with like buffer wheels that spin at like 1400
Dude,
RPM.
if he
So
could get his beard stuck in that.
I was gonna say it's like an instant trimmer, but I don't know. I mean, I wish I could grow that much facial hair. I mean, like Connor said, I've been growing this mustache and
Dude,
chin
yeah,
out
I'm even worse than Hayden.
Yeah, right, dude. I know my dad's gonna watch this episode, so I'm gonna throw him some shade real quick because I got my dad's genetics. Obviously, I didn't get my mom's beard genetics, but I honestly kind of feels like it though. But my dad didn't get like a full beard until he was like 30, so I got like 5 years to go before I'll actually get like a beard. I'm like, dude, there's kids in my like middle school who had a freaking mustache by the time they went into high school. So I don't know what kind of genetics I got screwed over with, but that's that. Anyway,
Also, I'm keeping all this in there. So for those watching, there probably was like a little black spot where I reset the camera. But we're keeping all the beard talk in there for sure.
good, because that's content. Oh my gosh! So kind of give us. I'd like to kind of know a little bit of your life story, like how you got into moto, and then like your transition. You said you went to the military, you were in the Army. So, like what kind of conspired from like moto to Army to where you are?
Yeah. So it's funny that you mentioned fishing, which I think you do. Outdoor videos and stuff, right?
Yeah, and also everyone that we talk to somehow is into fishing.
Yeah. It's kind of great. Like moto community is like a closet fishing community.
Well, so originally I'm from Maine. Originally.
Okay.
Oh wow.
So
What part of Maine?
What's that?
What part of Maine?
Well, I was born in Portland, and then I lived like in the greater Portland area.
Okay.
And then the last house that I owned in Maine was actually in Limerick on Lake Arrowhead, which is a tournament bass lake in Maine, which was amazing.
Oh, I bet. Yeah, that sounds awesome.
That's cool. I got to go to Portland probably 2 summers ago. One of my buddies got married up there, and I had never been to Maine,
cool.
never knew anything about it. I was like, oh, it's probably just me this like cold little state. And dude, it was, I mean, it was like amazing up there.
What month did you go? When
June.
did you go?
It was in June.
Okay. Yeah. June's good.
So yeah, I'm sure like if you go up there in like January, it's probably kind of miserable, but like it was like so cool.
Yeah.
And like we were seeing the lighthouses, and the hotel we stayed in was like 50 feet away from that LL Bean store up in, it was like a little bit north of Portland, I guess.
Oh, cool.
But
in Freeport. Yeah.
Yeah. Like that whole area, like I was so like, I had such low expectations for what Maine was going to be. And then we got there. I was like, whoa, this is like incredible. But anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead with what you're talking about.
I wanted to bring up the fishing part because you mentioned the fishing, but yeah, so I grew up in Maine, but my wife's from Arizona, and in high school we met at church, and we started college, and I decided college wasn't for me. And as far as like moto goes, like I grew up riding, like in Maine, it's all woods riding though. Like,
oh wow,
there was moto, but not even like even close to what it is today. Like we had a couple of dealerships throughout the state, but like we didn't have independent shops. There was no moto shops. There's no suspension shops. Like that wasn't a thing back when I was a kid. And so I mostly just trail rode. We didn't even have like off-road racing. It was literally like moto, or like you rode the power lines. Like that was it. So I convinced my dad to get, this is like, I don't know, late 90s. Like I convinced my dad to get a 93 CR80, and I was like, I want to race.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is what I'm going to do. Like, I want to race. I played hockey and stuff at the time, but like, I was like, I'm going to race, and I did it for 2 seasons. I was terrible. It was just like woods riding skills did not like compute to moto skills.
Yeah.
Especially like growing up on like trail, like XR80s, XR100s, like, and then to go to CR80 for like literally a season, and then just get completely smoked by like what now would be the super mini class. It was just not like, that was not my thing.
Yeah.
But I loved everything about it. Like I loved like setting up our pit, and I loved being there, and I loved the atmosphere, and I loved riding. I wasn't super into it. And the other issue was like, I was really, really tall. Like I'm 6'5".
Oh, wow.
And so even at like 13, I was really, really tall. And I was just too big for the bike. And we actually talked to the promoter, and they're like, yeah, if you want to run a 4-stroke, like we'll let you run a 4-stroke in the 85 class. This is way before like the 150Rs. And it just didn't really work out for us. So back to where I cut myself off. After high school, I graduated, decided I wanted to try some stuff in the Army and get some training and stuff. And I had a little bit of Army time, partially, mostly reserve actually. But then I was just in the service industry between Goodyear and Firestone in Maine at a couple different locations. And then once I started having kids, my wife and I decided like, hey, let's consider moving back to Arizona. And I'm glad I did, just from the moto standpoint. Like now Maine has like a considerable, like they actually have an AMA event now called the Maine event, which Racer X sponsors. And there's more series and stuff, but like when I was growing up, it was like you were lucky to have 8 weeks of the summer where there was 2 tracks that didn't even have open practice. You literally just showed up on race day.
Wow.
And you just, like that's all you got. And it was literally every other Sunday they alternated back and forth. And then like, that was it. And then you were done. And that was usually by like maybe early October. And then you were done again until like May. Like, cause winters are so long. And between like winters being long and the cost of living in Maine is just so high. That's why we're like, let's go to Arizona. And so I came out here and took a job in the private sector, but still in the automotive industry, and did that for a little bit until I basically had enough money to say, all right, I'm going to do my own thing. And that's where everything kind of took off.
That is awesome.
Dang,
That's a success story if I've ever heard one.
Yeah, that's quite the climate change too. You went
Yeah.
through.
Yeah. You went from Maine to Arizona. Like I was talking with somebody about like Death Valley, and like that's right next to Arizona. But like, holy cow, that is quite the difference in climate change.
Random question. So you said you met your wife at church, right?
Yeah.
So did she move up to Maine, or how did y'all get linked between that?
Yeah, that's a distance.
Yeah, so she was still like at that time she was high school age, and her dad got a job in Maine, so they literally just moved cross country randomly.
Dang.
And then her junior and senior year of high school, she did transferred, and we didn't go to school together, but they were looking for a church, and we met at church, and a few years later got married and had kids. So.
Oh, that's an awesome story.
It was very
That's the dream.
Dude, I know this guy's over here living the dream. I'm like, oh man, where do I find me a freaking church girl? Like, dude, yeah.
So how old are you now?
That's a good question. I just turned 34.
Okay. I'm starting to get to the age too where I'm like, so I'm 27, but like now, like when people ask me, they're like, how old are you? Like on the spot, I'm like, I'm 27.
I'm on my fingers. Like, wait a second, I gotta start over.
It gets worse once you're 30, because then you lose track even more, or then you start assuming like, I'm almost 32. All right, am I really 32? And I'm almost 33. Like partway through the year, you'll start thinking like you're close to that age, but you're not that age yet. And then you have the birthday, and then you think you're the age next year.
Yeah.
Like it's
that's interesting.
Yeah.
And once you have kids too, it's like none of it matters.
Yeah, I was gonna say forget about your kids' birthdays.
I'm old, I'm out of shape, like my joints hurt, like whether it's 30, 34 or 40, like it doesn't matter. Right?
Yeah.
Like,
True.
It all feels the same.
So you said you had gone to a Loretta's qualifier this weekend, right?
Yeah.
How'd that go?
We went to the one up in Mesquite.
Okay.
At Mesquite. I guess it's technically Littlefield, Arizona, but it's right next to Mesquite, Nevada. But yeah, dude, that is literally like I would say is like one of the top, our favorite tracks in the Southwest.
Really?
Just as far as its run, the track layout, and the dirt. Like even though it's that like high desert, like Arizona, Nevada dirt, like it literally is like corduroy. I mean, it really like but it's soft enough where like it gets ripped super deep. I mean, the corners are just as big at Mesquite as far as ruts go than they are at like Fox Raceway, because we did regionals at Fox last year. Like it's no different, but like the quality of the dirt is so nice. My son absolutely loves that track.
Really?
So cool.
What size bike's your son on?
So he's 7 years old. He's been on the 50. But I don't want to bring up something too controversial, but I know you guys.
Hey, we're all about the controversial.
Yeah, that is all. That's what we love.
I know you guys talked with Pierre about the e-bike stuff. And my son right now is focusing all on the e-bike class.
Okay.
Because the MX Sports changed the age bracket to one more year.
Mm-hmm.
And he almost made it last year. So his trainer was like, dude, like if you give it one more year, like he's got a really good shot, to make it. So we're like, all right, let's put the gas bike aside and just focus full time on the e-bike. It's funny too, because we actually, AEO supports my son, which is one of the KTM gas dealers that's out here. And they had a 65 with his name on it at the dealer. And I came back from Arena Cross and I called him. I'm like, hey, any way I can trade that for another e-bike? I need a couple more months. So we ended up getting another e-bike. So he's got two now that he's training on. So after, whether he makes it to Loretta's or not, like whether that, like at one point when he's done at the end of the summer, like we'll just go to 65s. Like we're not going to chase the 7 to 8, like 50cc age bracket for another year. Like I'd rather just get him more time on a clutch and, kind of set him up for a little bit more success later instead of keeping him on the 50s for too long.
I gotcha. So how this weekend go? Did y'all get the results you wanted, or how'd that go?
Yeah. I mean, he qualified both. So this weekend was a dual qualifier. So Saturday was for the Midwest, and then Sunday was for the Southwest. And Saturday was kind of tough. Like the weather was really bad. It rained on and off, and it was really, really windy. But I mean, he still qualified. I think it was top 10, which like it's hard. It's kind of, we're in a weird position where like locally, like he's definitely, and I'm not trying to brag, but like, he's one of like the faster local kids. So we always kind of have a hard time like leaving the state and figuring out like, hey, what are our expectations, right? Like, you know, if you're 1, 2, or 3 at every local race, where are you going to be at, you know, a qualifier or arena cross, or, you know, wherever we go on a larger stage. Sunday, he did a lot better. He went 4th in the first moto out of like 23 kids. And then he was battling for 3rd and then crashed, went back to like 16th and then made his way all the way up to 9th in the last lap and a half, for a 6 overall. So still pretty good. Yeah.
Completely solid. Yeah.
So we'll see what that computes to at regionals. Like this is just the area qualifier.
Yeah.
So we'll see, but he's qualified in both regions now. So we'll have 2 regional qualifiers coming up.
Okay.
Awesome.
And so then after that, so you do the regionals, then if he qualifies that, then does that mean he's in?
Well, yeah. So the area is like the larger scale. It's open to anyone. And then you have to get through your area qualifier. And then if you qualify within your area, because I think they take like the top 12 out of the area, and then those all go to the regional. And then the regional is like the bigger race, like Fox Raceway has the Southwest one. And then Bunker Hill in Utah has the Midwest one. And then they take, I think it's top 4 out of there. And then from there, you go straight to Loretta's from regionals.
Okay,
that's cool.
Well, hopefully it makes it. We will be there this year watching.
Cool.
We won't be competing, obviously. But it's like an hour 15 from us. So we went last year for the first time. And I'm sure you said you listened to our podcast, so I'm sure you heard the stories that we had from there.
Yeah.
But it was such a blast, and we're like already super amped to go back.
I know. We had just a taste of it when we went to the woods race, and I'm like, dude, Loretta's like, we're here.
It was weird too, like, because like we had seen it on the Saturday when it was like nuts.
Yeah.
And then we showed up at this woods race, and
after
it was like the
flood that went through it.
Yeah, the flood went through, which
oh yeah. I forgot about the flood last year. It destroyed.
Oh yeah, flat, almost like flattened the track. Yeah.
So I think the whole track was underwater. I was talking to Anthony about it this past week. We know a guy that kind of like, he's like the manager or something over there.
He facilitates.
Yeah, he's the man over there. But he is involved a lot with the track, and he said the whole track was underwater. And I think a barn got washed away. He said. But honestly, like it doesn't, I mean, they're easily going to have it, ready for August. But yeah, it was weird seeing like on that Saturday, it was like nuts. And then we showed up and like, it was nuts where we were parking because there were a bunch of people there, but then like the track is just like kind of over there. It's like a ghost town. And like, no banners, no markers or anything. It's just like a
track somebody built
a bare track that, I mean, I don't think anyone's even ridden it since like that last Saturday. So, but yeah, we're super excited to go over there, and hopefully we'll see y'all there.
Yeah. So what does arena cross look like for you guys?
Sorry, say that again.
Like arena cross, like the
series that you're involved with, is that like I know there's like a bunch of different types of arena cross series. Like there's one that's like they do in Kentucky that we probably are going to try out, like that we can ride in. And then there's like the one that like I guess like Colt Nichols had ridden in, and like all these other guys. So like which one is that you're involved with?
So we're sponsoring the AMA Kicker Arena Cross. So that's the one that like Kyle Peters just won the championship.
Okay, so that's like the top. That's like the top level one.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the only one that actually gives number 1 plates out.
Okay.
That for like actual AMA plate. There's a Hoosier one that a lot of the riders, at least a lot of the pros, like kind of bounce back and forth depending on like location and stuff. But yeah, Cycle City Promotions is who puts that on. They have kicker monster trucks as well.
Okay.
But yeah, that's one that like it is pros, but they do have amateur racing throughout the night. But it is like you have heats and qualifiers earlier in the day. It's not just like open. So like they do kind of make sure that it's like the amateurs that, at least because it's televised as well. So it's like the amateurs that, you know, I don't want to sound mean, but like can get around the track and, you know, like
they're not letting us out there. Is what you're saying.
Well, like, I mean, I'm an advocate for like everyone try, you know, everyone should be able to try it. Right. But it's just like, you know, at that level, and especially like one thing I didn't realize going into it, that like, because it is such a high profile, like pro race, that the track layout it's hardcore. Like they don't dump
full scale
anything down. Like some of the other ones, like, and we've done like arena style racing and like stuff like that. But like this was full on like not every location, but some of the locations had full on like supercross whoops.
Wow.
And finish like full like 50, 60 foot finish line doubles. Like, yeah, I mean, it was like we like my son raced all the locations that we went to, which we tried to like do some stadium racing and arena cross training with his trainer and stuff like that. But it still, once you get there, like we were not prepared. I mean, he still did really well, but like we were not prepared. I was thinking like, oh yeah, like you'll totally hit finish line doubles by the end of the series. No way, dude. Like it was pretty intense. I mean, even like 65 and 85 classes, like I think there was one 65 rider that was able to do the finish line double. And I think most places it was like maybe 2 to 5 85 cc riders that were able to hit the finish line double. But there were, I would say 3/4 of the big bike classers weren't even hitting the finish line doubles either.
No kidding.
So it was pretty.
That's freaking gnarly.
Yeah. I've got a question about that electric bike. So, what's like the power comparison between? So is that bike supposed to be comparable to the KTM 50 2-stroke?
Yeah, I mean, there are differences. He's been on that bike for a year, and we have the gas version of it as well. We have gas. There are some subtle differences as far as like the power and top speed and like that stuff, but like it's that platform. So wheels, suspension, all that stuff, and there are multiple settings on it for speed and power. So at its max, it's pretty. They would say it's pretty comparable. We have his re-geared, but there's really not much you can do. Like there's no jetting or anything. Like there's no clutch adjustment. You know, so that kind of stuff you can't really do anything with. But one of our friends has a company in Southern California that make sprockets and brackets and stuff for the conversion for putting a larger sprockets on it. So that's really all you can do, but it is pretty comparable. We do run locally. And actually even for arena cross, they don't have an e-bike class yet. So they allowed him to run the open and 7 to 8 age bracket on the e-bike this year. So it's pretty comparable. If anything, like I'd say a built Cobra motor is probably faster top speed, like top end wise. But in general, it's pretty close.
Yeah, for the level at which they're riding at it, it can compete.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, there's been a few times where like, oh man, like we actually have we have 2 e-bikes and they're set up with different gearing and different tire combos. So we kind of like look at the track and be like, all right, like I think this bike would be better today, or you know, Saturday didn't go very well as far as traction and acceleration went, so we switched bikes for Sunday. But yeah, like it's not like they're getting smoked or anything.
Oh yeah.
For sure. You know, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that to my kid. Like set him up for failure. Like, hey, like I really like, there's no maintenance on this. So you're gonna go out there and just get, so
as a dad,
but I love it, dude. Like, honestly, I was very against it when they first came out. You know, being from a mechanical background, I was like, I don't want anything that I can't work on or fix or, you know, anything. And then it's kind of a funny story. Last year at Mesquite, we went on his Cobra and the bike broke down on the first day of practice. And the Cobra dealer that was supposed to do trackside support never showed. So we're like 7 hours from home. I didn't have the parts to fix it. Nobody else had the parts to fix it. And just so happened, our friends from Arizona called me and they were like, hey, my wife's on her way up there. Do you want us to bring the e-bike and have Jackson try to double class on the e-bike? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. Like at this point, it's either that or we go home. Like we don't have a choice. So they brought it, and day one, they conjoined it with like a local series. So it was like a couple days of like local.
I think we just lost you.
Racing, and then the last like day or two were like the qualifiers, and then day two we went first overall, and then the qualifier day went fifth overall. And so I'm like, well, this is a borrowed bike, not set like we didn't set sag, or it still had like the worn out Maxxis tires that come stock on it. And so literally I wasn't even back to Arizona, and I was like calling dealerships like, hey, like can you get me an e-bike? And literally within 24 hours of being home, we had a new e-bike in the garage, and we just haven't looked back since.
Wow.
Dang.
That's pretty gnarly.
Yeah. Let's take a quick break real quick because we're like at 25 minutes.
Yeah.
And then we can wrap up. We can wrap up with a couple more things.
Sure.
Sweet.
Okay.
Don't say anything funny while I'm resetting the camera.
I was just getting ready to say something. No. So what I was going to say before Connor.
All right, so we're back. So anyway, continue.
So anyway, I just bought like, Mom, cover your ears, like $500 worth of parts just for the engine alone on my 2001 25. And I'm like so stoked and amped for it, because like that's the thing, being like a technician and stuff like that. I love just working on stuff. So I can't wait to rebuild that thing, because now I know.
Hopefully know what you're doing, because so today's Thursday. Parts get here tomorrow.
Yep. I'm gonna have that bike torn apart. I already watched like the tutorials, and like I have my book. Plus, it's like a 2-stroke.
We're supposed to ride on Sunday, so he's got to get this bike.
It'll be dialed, my guy. I'll be ripping. Yeah, on Sunday, dude. I'm telling you,
you're riding on Sunday.
Yes, sir. We'll be breaking that motor in all day Saturday.
I'm riding on Sunday. We'll see if Hayden joins us.
Yeah, right.
The whole day I'm breaking that motor in. I don't care what my neighbors say.
I forgot you have to break it in.
Yeah, you got to break it in. I bet you $10 the guy who built that motor before me did not break it in, but that's speculation.
I've heard rumors that you don't really have to break it in. Do you know, is that true?
It's just like heat cycles.
Yeah, I mean, I always, whether it's my bike or when I had a shop like customers' bikes, like I would always heat cycle the bike at least a couple times.
Yeah.
And then just recheck fluids and stuff. I mean, like especially a 4-stroke, like you got a water pump and stuff like that. So like I'd always double check fluids and stuff after a couple heat cycles.
Sure.
But dude, I can't tell you how many times I tell people like, hey, for the next hour, like, only 3/4 throttle, and then I literally see them.
What? Dude, me. Oh my god!
Out of the parking lot, and I'm like, yeah, there's no warranty on that one.
Yeah, no, sorry. In the parking lot, yeah, you're walking back to the trailer, like, yeah, I'm sorry, but that is not gonna fly.
For sure.
Yeah, that's hilarious. So you kind of did work on your son's bike for like the longest. I mean, like you wrench on like motors and stuff like that.
With that electric bike, like what all maintenance is required? Because like I'm assuming, I mean, there's still some things you have to do, right? Like the fork seals at least.
No, that's just your
you gotta lube the chain.
So the electric motors are actually really hard on chains. So we go through chains pretty quickly. Really? And it literally has to be adjusted probably, I'd say every ride or every other ride, just because there's so much immediate torque on it. And the motors will last longer having the chains within a certain tolerance as far as like their tension and stuff. But it's really just tires and chains. Wow. And occasionally like your occasional grip, grip change, stuff like that. But yeah, just charging it. We do have the one we got originally, we have had back to the dealer, which that's kind of like the downside is like, I'd rather just rip into something, fix it, and then, be able to fix it again if it happens again. Mm-hmm. But everything's plugged in, to the dealer computer. And so, I can't really do anything on it at all. So we've had one that's like gone into limp mode because it has like an actual check engine light. And it'll go into limp mode and stuff like that. So we've had it back to the dealer a couple of times. I think that one, the motor is actually going to get replaced. KTM is going to replace the motor just because they're not even really sure what happened as far as like why it keeps having this issue. So that one's going to go back now that this weekend's qualifier was over. We got to get it back to the dealer for them to replace it, but it's super easy, man. Like it's really,
I'm sure it's just a quick
making sure
swap.
like tire pressure, like race day, it's literally just like chain tension and checking, tire pressure. I mean, it does have like WP air forks and stuff on it. So I occasionally check the air pressure in the forks to make sure that they're where we have it set up for them. But it's super easy, man. There's no oil changes. There's no like checking stuff. There's no like top ends every 20 hours. Like,
no air filters. Does like the hours that you put on that bike, is that really that important, or do they don't really even like monitor that much?
So the computer tracks that, and the dealer, that's one thing I actually need to ask next time it's there, is find out how many hours are on it. Because I would just kind of like to know. I think the issue that he's having with it is because it has so many hours. And he's like not a beginner, so he's riding it like relatively hard. But it's not like hours where it's like, when we were on KTMs before, we were putting rings on it like every 15 hours, which I mean, that was like probably every 3 to 4 weeks I was putting rings in the bike just to keep it fresh. But yeah, like none of that stuff matters. I mean, it's literally all battery and computer based. So
yeah,
and none of that really matters.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I would assume that like now, like when I buy a bike, like however many hours are on it is like kind of an important part of the sale. But I feel like with those electric bikes, I mean, I'm sure you'd still want to know, but it's probably not like as much of a deterrent to have a high hour electric bike. Maybe, I mean, I guess those batteries do eventually go though, right?
Yeah. The batteries can go, but they have the gas is a 1.5 year warranty on the battery. And then KTM, I think, is 2 years. So you can get that replaced, under dealer warranty, which is pretty much like the only thing covered under any type of motorsport warranty, really. And they'll cover the whole thing, the motor and the battery. So, I mean, if you got any issues within that time frame, then it's all covered anyways. I personally, like, I would be hesitant to buy a 1 year or 2 old e-bike that had the original, battery and motor, because it is new technology, right? So there isn't a ton of, they can only R&D so much. They're not putting 1 million hours on them and know that they're going to fail at, they have a fail rate at, whatever percent at however many hours. So like, I'd be a little hesitant to buy something that, maybe a 1 year or 2 old without knowing. But I mean, it's not like, the KTM 250s where you're like, okay, like 60 hours, like I'm waiting for the bottom end to go. And, and then like, do you buy that or do you not buy that? Or do you buy it and assume that you're going to have to do the bottom end soon or, whatever. So, I got no complaints, man. I mean, other than having to charge it. And like, that's the thing is, so on full power, the charge time is like, or the run time is like 35 to 40 minutes of consistent ride. Like if he goes out on the main track and he's just ripping the whole time, it's a 35-minute like charge. And then it takes 45 minutes to an hour to charge again, to recharge.
Dang, that's not bad at all.
So that's why we have 2. No, it really isn't. But that's why we have 2. So that way, like when he's working with his trainer, he can like jump back and forth between the bikes, like as they're charging.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Have any downtime in between.
Has there ever been an issue with like when you go to a track, there's not a place to charge it? Because I feel like the tracks that we go to,
for us at least.
Maybe it's different out there. Where we go, like I don't know if there's any power outlets around where I'm parking my car.
No, I bring generators everywhere.
Okay. So it's still technically gas powered.
Yeah, it's a delayed gas power.
Yeah. Oh my gosh,
that's funny.
But yeah, no, none of our track like Motoland doesn't have outlet power. Arizona Cycle Park does, but it's like designated for like event sponsors and stuff. So like it's locked up and covered. Like you can't just like go plug in like, oh, my phone's dead. Like go charge it on a race day. Now Mesquite, Mesquite actually has hookups for your RV for water and power. They've got a bunch of that there.
That's cool.
Which if we go, we stayed in a hotel this weekend, but if we go back with a motorhome, like we'll probably just do that. And that way we don't have to run generators and stuff all weekend or drive 7 hours with full tanks of water in the motorhome. So,
yeah. So do you think that within the next few years, a lot more of these tracks are going to have like power outlets available for people, or do you think that it's still pretty far out?
I don't know. I mean, I've heard a lot of I guess hearsay as far as like people, especially with the big bikes, like with the Stark Varg and stuff like that. Like people are saying, oh yeah, like bike, tracks should have charging stations and whatever. I mean, my philosophy is like when you go to the track, you got to be self-sufficient anyways. Like you can't expect the track to supply anything really. I mean, my concern with that is then like, especially with the e-bikes, like say a few years from now, there is an e-bike class they are e-bikes classes, but say it's a stacked class and there's 25 or 30 bikes. Like after your moto, everyone's going to be lined up at the charging, like the e-bike charging station, trying to charge the stuff. So, I think in general, like I know Motoland's intention is to actually have power and power hookups and stuff like that. But I don't foresee it being something that nationally tracks are going to start adopting, like Tesla charge stations or anything like that. Maybe, 50 years from now, if there's an actual series that has, a class for that. And like, there's teams that are based around an e-bike and, stuff like that, there might be something, but I mean, the grassroots part of racing is like, go out in the middle of nowhere with your motorhome or with your truck and trailer. And like, you drag your super loud Harbor Freight generator out and you set it, 50 feet from your truck and you just, use that to run your lights or whatever it is you're going to run. Like, I think that's very far from what the sport's going to, or at least where it's at now. So I don't think it'll go that direction anytime soon, at least.
That's good input.
Sense.
Yeah. I mean, why would you want to rely on a track to supply what you need to race?
Well, also too, like at least the tracks around here, like I mean, people don't really get into owning a track to make money off of it. So it's not like they're like, oh, we've got all this extra money, let's put in a bunch of power outlets and pay for power for people. So like,
right.
And especially as someone that does not ride an electric bike, if they have any extra money, I would hope they would put it into the track and not into electrical power for other people. Which maybe that's a selfish thing to say, but I don't know.
I'd rather have good dirt than good electricity.
Like even as an e-bike parent, like I'd rather say like, hey, take that money and like, fix your dozer or, get another water truck or, whatever. And like, I'll rely on myself for, because I mean, ultimately, at the end of the day, like it's our choice to buy an e-bike, like, right? Like I could just take him, he has a gas bike too. Like I could just take him to the track on the gas bike and then we don't have, any need other than a gas can. So, I would rather just say like, hey, you put that money into the track or into your facility. You do have the occasional facility that charges a lot of money and then doesn't even upkeep their track. That's a completely different, situation. But I'll take care of my situation. The track can keep the money and, make sure that they, they have the money to put on good events and, maintain the facility and stuff like that.
Yeah, I like that
For sure.
I like that.
Well, cool. I mean, honestly, we're getting pretty close to wrapping up. We're almost at an hour. One question that I had, kind of like, I guess this would be a good place to like end it. For like privateers and people that you obviously have like a passion for helping support privateers. Do you guys have like an application or like a place where people can go to find like sponsorships with Roost Goggles?
Yeah. So really just through our website, we've got a contact page and a Roost rider page. Not every single rider that we support is on that page, but ones that we have a consistent, good relationship with. But yeah, just go onto our website and send a race resume, not just your name and that you want to be sponsored, but an actual what you're doing, type of a race resume. And yeah, just send it in and it'll go to me. I'm the one that runs like our website and social media and stuff. So it'll go to me and we'll take a look and go from there. We do have some stuff in the works for, we did just bring on a pro, arena cross pro midway through the season who is an outdoor or pro sport. So he's doing like the Loretta qualifiers for like this pro sport classes and stuff like that, that we sponsor. And then we've got a few other, hopefully we actually have a handful of kids that are going to go to Loretta's this year and then hopefully get their pro licenses after. So hopefully that relationship will continue into the privateer ranks as well. But yeah, I mean, we don't put a cap on like, oh, we're only going to do X amount of riders this year or whatever. Like we literally will, support as many riders as we can. And, based off of your program and what your goals are. That's the big thing for us, is that we don't just blanket, like throw out a discount code and call it sponsorship and, and try to get as many people on board as possible. We want to make sure that the kids or riders that we do work with, have the same goals and the same, drive that we have in that, because we consider them, part of our team and part of our family. So when we do that, we want to make sure that, everyone's on the same page. So
that's cool. Well, sweet. And I guess, so for people that are on, so like we're in Tennessee, I guess like online would be the place to buy your goggles, right?
For right now, yeah. Our goal later this year is to get into, we have a few contacts with some distributors that we'd like to get on board with, so that you can get it through your normal, like, I don't say who, but like online distributor. And we have been working on getting outside of Arizona to have dealerships and stuff carrying them. But really, I mean, shipping's so quick now that like we can get most of the Midwest in 2 days. So that's really the best place. And the thing is, like, I like when people order from us right now, because it's either me or one of my teammates that are actually packaging things up and sending stuff out. We're always like throwing extra stuff in the boxes just to kind of like, show that we value our customers. So at this point, I kind of like the fact that it's more work for me sending out, packages every week, but it kind of gives that personal touch that, and everything, we have everything stocked actually at my house right now, but we actually physically inspect everything and package it ourselves. Not just the box, but like even the goggles before they go into the goggle bag, before they go into the box. Like we do all that by hand, so that there's like zero chance of, any manufacturer defects or, any accidental scratch of a lens. And that's what you get shipped. Cause that's just, the care that we want to put into it, and, have that value, and, people know that we care about what you're going to get. So.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, that's great quality. That's what we like to see.
Well, sweet. Well, yeah, thanks for coming on. And it was awesome. I'm sure we could talk for hours and hours. I was going to ask you what your Supercross picks were, but I feel like, because we've been asking people that the past few episodes, but I feel like by this point, I mean,
kind of already know who's got.
I mean, do you have anything besides Eli, Jet, and Christian Craig?
So, no, I mean, it depends on if I was going to make picks based off of like statistics, then like, I think you said everything that needs to be said.
Yeah.
But I'm not a huge Eli fan. I think that this year he's been consistent, but for some reason I like have a personal issue with somebody who's so talented and so fast, but so inconsistent. And that the year that he like broke the belt on his pants and then got the number 1 plate and then lost it again, like that inconsistency, I just feel like there's not a lot of longevity there. Like obviously this year, I got to give it to him. Like,
yeah, I think he's got something figured out a little bit better this year, I think. Yeah.
Well, right. Like this year, there's no disputing it. In my opinion, like he is consistently like the guy to beat. I think. I actually saw something today that he has 0 passes against him this season.
Whoa.
Really? That's crazy.
So like
that
Rocky Mountain Fantasy, I think that might have been where it was. And I don't remember exactly, but Rocky Mountain Fantasy was, they have like the positive or negative pass numbers for riders. And so the other day when I listened, Anderson was like -2 or something like that. But I saw something on Instagram today that Tomac has 0 passes against him this season. Wow. So even if he's not getting the best start, he's moving up and then not losing positions. Or if he is, he's making them back up. So he's about like a balanced flatline 0.
Wow.
Which is pretty impressive. Like, that's,
that is really impressive.
It's funny. I was hoping you're going to bring Supercross up, because I remember even you guys shared the Roxon thing.
Yeah.
So
and then he got dropped out.
I just wanted to revisit that real quick because obviously he's announced whatever. I don't even know what he really announced.
Yeah, that was such a weird. I thought the press release was very strange.
Yeah, it's kind of like I'm gonna take a break from Supercross until I get like fully healed. So don't really know.
It reminded me of when Stewart kind of like when James, not Malcolm, obviously, when James like slowly took himself out of the scene. You know what I mean? Like they had that year of like very inconsistent. Like he was at some races, he wasn't. He crashed back and forth, and it was just like the same thing. Like it wasn't a like, well, I'm gonna retire. And I feel like that's kind of like what they did with Roxon. It was like they left the door open to have that conversation of retiring, but also if he doesn't retire, then it's not like he's coming out of retirement. You know what I mean? Like it was very vague.
It was weird how. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I don't. Go ahead.
I just thought it was weird how like in it, like Honda kind of like almost like paid their respects to him. Like they kind of like reminisce like down like their history and stuff. And like, that's like, I feel like that's something that a company does when they're parting ways. But I also heard that Kenny was saying that he still feels like he owes a championship to Honda. So
yeah. And whether or not he can even produce that at his age and skill level right now.
I mean, it's weird. It makes sense that they came out with that he's kind of dealing with a few different kind of illnesses all piled up together, because obviously he's got the natural talent and the speed. I mean, he showed it at round one, but it's honestly like, it's kind of like sad to see like how he definitely has the speed and the talent to get there. He just like, I don't know what's going on this season, but I would hate I would hate for him to go out this way.
Yeah, seriously, me too.
Because I hated the way that James Stewart left the industry too. But
I think Roxon will make another push. Like I don't think he's done, but I think it'll be like James where he comes back and then he's like, oh, I don't have it anymore, at least not at this level. Because I mean, dude, look at last year and this year at how much of a jump that like Eli took and Anderson. Like Anderson was like maybe top 10 rider last year. And then all of a sudden he comes like on a new team and he's like, I'm just going to do my own thing. And then all of a sudden, like you have like, I think it was 18 when he won the championship for Supercross. Like that's who's back this year. Like that version of him. Yeah. Like he looks super smooth. He has that like that style, that untucked shirt style. Like I'm just going to let it hang out and just push the throttle and hang on and have fun. Like, and then not to mention Mookie, like he went from, like, I don't know what I mean, but like a B-class rider to like literally battling for podiums consistently. So I don't think Roxon would be able to come, even if he just said like, I'll come back next year. Like, I don't think there's enough training in the world to fix his body in mind to be able to come back and be at the level that, assuming Tomac wins a championship and doesn't retire, which that's a whole different conversation. Or, if Anderson re-signs, or because I think his was just a 1-year deal, right?
I don't know.
With Cowie?
I think it was.
I would assume that if it is, and I would assume he would want to re-sign.
Yeah.
Well, right after, and they would want to re-sign him. I mean, with Cincerillo having all kinds of injuries, and then their 250 guys being, they're relatively consistent now, but previously, like, why wouldn't you re-sign him? So I just don't. It's sad to see, but I just don't see him like coming back and making a push and being in that top, like the position to win a championship. It'd be different if he was like, oh, I want to be like Reed or a K-Dub and be like, I'm going to do a million years of racing in Moto and set records that way.
I don't think that's what Kenny wants to do though. I think if he's not winning, if he's not in contention, seeing an option to win, then I don't think he would want to be out there.
I agree.
So do you think that if he does come back, which I'm hoping he does, is that going to be on a Honda, or do you think that that'll be on a different bike?
That's a good question. I think it's not a matter of if he's good enough for Honda. I think the question is, who would Honda sign?
So here's one thing to consider. I heard that Ken Roczen, so his contract with Honda is up this year, but he has one more year on his Red Bull deal, which basically means he could only either be at Honda or go to KTM. And I heard a rumor, which like this might have been like from some dumb person on TikTok, but I heard someone mention the idea of Kenny and Cooper Webb swapping, with how, you know, Cooper Webb hasn't been quite as happy as he was last year. So like, who knows if that's just like completely out there, but I mean, it at least makes sense for the Red Bull thing. And for, you know, I'm sure Kenny and Cooper Webb are both looking at, oh, well, look at Eli Tomac and Jason Anderson. They both switched brands and it revolutionized their riding. So like, I don't know. What do you think about that? Is that...
Yeah. I don't know, man. I haven't heard that. And I would be surprised. I mean, so whether Kenny thinks he can win a championship or not, he's definitely at the end of his career, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, Webb's won championships for KTM. So and I'm not Roger DeCoster, but if I was Roger DeCoster, like, why would I give up somebody who's given us championships for somebody who hasn't proven that they can do what it takes to make a championship?
Yeah, but what if it's what if it's not Roger DeCoster's decision? What if Cooper Webb's like, I'm unhappy with this new bike, I don't want to be here anymore?
Well, so that's a great question. I think that, I don't know, man. I don't like.
I don't know either.
Marv signed a 2-year deal, right? With indoor only, right? So that's not like they could move him out, because that would be when you said the Red Bull thing. I was immediately thinking that it would be when Marv leaves, they would give it. They would give it to Kenny. But I mean, with Marv having this year and one more year, then I can't imagine Kenny's going to wait 2 years to come back.
Yeah, that'd be too much time.
I don't know, man. Like I don't know. I think a lot. It's funny because I think like Kawasaki spends too much time grooming their grooming their up and coming riders, and it does, like, they put too much like weight into that program. Where I think Max Volan's like the first one to really come on as like that junior 250 rider. Well, and Pierce Brown did it with Gas, but like, I think teams need to start focusing on building their program and looking at what they can build for the future instead of, hey, who's going to win us a championship today? Because guys leave or guys get injured, or, you know, like there's too much inconsistency, I think, in the pile. You know, the days of like Ricky Carmichael being with a brand for 4 to 5 years and then saying, okay, well, I'll finally leave. Like, guys are jumping around wherever they can, which I understand they're taking rides because you have to, right? Like, they're the top 20, like the top 20 guys are all fast guys. Like there's no one that doesn't deserve to be in that top 20. So you've got to take whatever ride you can get. But I don't know. I think team, especially KTM, should start grooming Max and maybe another rider to take those 450 spots in the next few years. You know what I mean? And look at championships in the future instead of like, who can we negotiate for today?
Yeah, for sure. Well, cool. Well, we're like getting close to that 30-minute mark, so that camera's about to go off. But yeah, appreciate you coming on. It's been awesome to talk to you. And we'll thanks, guys. No, it's been great. Yeah, appreciate it. Well, cool. Well, that's Colin from Roost Goggles. Y'all go check him out at roostgoggles.com. Is that what they go to? Roostmotorsports.com. Roostmotorsports.com. Go check them out. Sounds like they got some sweet stuff. So
yeah, definitely.
Well, sweet. See y'all next time.
All right. See ya.
Sweet.
Oh my gosh. Perfect timing.
Oh, wow.
The garage door just opened. Who got here? Yo, Josh did it again. Yeah.